This is a presentation on creating thesis statements for your essays. A thesis statement is a sentence that states the key idea of an essay, sermon, research paper, speech, or lengthy composition. It sets up a premise, an idea, that the rest of the composition will attempt to support, define, or argue. It is usually found in the introductory paragraph to provide direction on what will be discussed in the composition. It is also a means to unify and focus your essay. Topic sentences versus thesis statements. A topic sentence is a key or controlling idea found within a paragraph that establishes a point about the larger topic. It is usually placed at the beginning of the paragraph to ensure the reader is following the development of your idea on the topic and understands the point about the topic idea in longer works. However, in longer compositions and papers, the statement of the key idea that runs through all the paragraphs is known as a thesis statement. The thesis is known as a controlling idea that all the sentences within the essay or longer compositions are trying to develop and explore. The thesis statement therefore controls or limits what will be addressed about the topic. So for instance, a 5-paragraph essay, you should see 1 thesis statement in the introduction and 3 topic sentences, 1 for each body paragraph. In writing your essays, you want to ensure the reader can follow your discussion, and therefore there is a need to identify what the essay will be discussing. This statement is provided in the introduction to ensure clarity of idea and is usually placed as the last or second last sentence within the introduction, so your reading audience knows what idea will be developed in the forthcoming body paragraphs. A good idea is to include a preview statement that states the point of each subsequent body paragraph, and that sentence is often the last sentence of the introduction. In your writing assignments for ELA10-1, all your essays will require a thesis statement. This inclusion of a thesis statement indicates to the reader or the marker that you have understood the expectations of the assignment and that you are responding to the question by limiting the topic so that an insightful discussion can occur on the topic. So there are 2 types of essays that you'll be asked to complete. One is the personal response to text, the PRT, and it's a reflection on the topic that is supported through details provided from a text and also from your own personal experience. Just the text can be used if you are not comfortable with discussing your personal life. The other one, the critical analytical response to text, is an analysis of a literary text for what is suggested about a given topic. It requires you to use the author's ideas to explore what is being said about an idea. It is recommended that you use only 1 text when you are doing the critical analytical response to text. So let's take a closer look at the personal response to text. The question typically is, what does the text suggest to you about? Notice that in this question they're asking you what the text is saying. So the personal response can come in and you can reference what experiences have explored that idea within your own life. And then it will finish off with some type of topic, the ways in which individuals take responsibility, the impact of responsibility. Note here that you have 2 key words that are at play. One is ways or impact, and the other one is on responsibility. And they're asking 2 different things from you. One is asking you, what are some of the methods that you, or the ways that you take responsibility? The other one is asking you, what is the effect of taking responsibility in your life? So some of the topics that have occurred in the past have been about dreams, about regrets, about legacy, kindness, sacrifice, choices. Those topics all express the idea about the human experience. And then you're given a direction on how to discuss that topic. The critical analytical response to text starts off with discuss the idea developed by the text creator in your chosen text. Notice here, it's all about the text creator's ideas and not your own. So in this one, you make a reference only to what the text is suggesting, what the author is trying to imply or suggest through his work. And again, it'll finish off with an idea, the ways an individual takes responsibility. As you progress through the English language arts levels, you'll see more key terms used in the assignment question and more complex questions to address in your writing assignments. As well, the higher levels will expect more insight, more complexity of thought, and subtle distinctions to be discussed in your writing. So let's take a look at the steps in creating a thesis statement. Once you've read the question for the writing assignment, there are a number of steps you can use to help you create a key idea or a thesis statement that will hopefully set up a clear, logical, insightful discussion of the topic question. It is probably the most critical thing you can do in your writing of an essay is to create this very clear and concise thesis statement. So step 1, rephrase the question. In rephrasing the question in simpler terms, it will help you to understand what the question is asking. So the topic question, what does the text suggest to you about the ways in which individuals take responsibility? You might rephrase that as, how do individuals take responsibility in their lives? And then I want to think about how the piece of literature is exploring that idea as well. Step 2 is to identify and define the key terms. So you want to take a highlighter and then look at the key terms in the dictionary and a thesaurus for definitions and synonyms. And this helps set you up with a clear job to do when you sit down to that assignment, and then it will help you to start brainstorming ideas as well. So ways, other terms that can be used are methods, paths, pursuits, systems, schemes, techniques, manner. Some synonyms are going to be more apt than others. So be careful, because systems really doesn't work here as opposed to methods or the manner. And then you want to take a look at responsibility. That could be commitment, a duty, an obligation, a requirement. Notice that here, again, some synonyms work a little bit better than others. Obligation works a little bit better than requirement here. Step 3, rework the question into a statement. The reworking of the question into a statement helps to really set you up to write that thesis statement. So the author suggests that taking responsibility within one's life is achieved. Now notice it's just a reworking of what was stated in the question. The lighter portion here will suggest how I can finish this off when one sees one's mistakes and errors and looks to correct them so healthier relationships can be established. Step 4, establish a cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship says that one thing came before the other. It says that one thing brought about the other. So cause and effect, responsibility, acknowledging our error, and then what is the effect of that? That's the outcome, is a healthy relationship with others. Be sure to understand which one is the cause and then what is the effect. If the relationship is mixed up, you'll move yourself off topic. Brainstorm the outcomes is step 5. Brainstorm possible outcomes, results, effects of the topic. Remember, you can take the negative approach too if, for instance, a character does not assume responsibility. And possible positive outcomes you might look at in any of your questions might be growth, maturity, a building of character, a strength and integrity, greater understanding, greater empathy, achievement or success. Number 6, brainstorm the key terms. Determine how the key terms are best supported by the literature you've studied. So use the key terms and ask how the main character reflects these terms. So how did this person reflect responsibility? Was it they finally made a decision and took responsibility for that decision? Did they own up to their mistakes? Think about all the different ways that that character has taken on responsibility. And then look at the progress. Did they start off denying a responsibility and then they slowly move towards taking on responsibility? How did they do that? You want to watch that progress or development of the key term. And then create a thesis that reflects these terms with the ending of the conflict in mind and the outcome created in step 5. If possible, in step 7, try to refine your thesis. If possible, try to use an adjective or more descriptive wording to qualify or limit the terms. So what form of responsibility are we talking about? Is this a personal responsibility? Is it a responsibility towards others? Is it a responsibility in your career or your job life? And then what ways or methods, modes, or approaches did you use? Did you acknowledge mistake? That's more descriptive than just saying, I've taken responsibility in my personal life. Number 8, create the thesis. The creation of the thesis statement then should start off with the reworking of the question, completing the thought with a controlling idea, an outcome that would be the result of the topic, and ensure that the keywords are used in the thesis statement. After you've finished and created your thesis statement, review the thesis. Does the statement include should, must, or need? You need to rewrite that statement to reflect an observation about humanity rather than a moral lesson. Should, must, need puts on a preachy tone and you're being moralistic. What you're wanting to do is just say this is an observation about mankind. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. Does the statement include the words how or what? You need to rewrite that so that you remove those words. How and what expand the topic. They don't control the topic. That means you're broadening the topic as opposed to narrowing the topic. Because it's only a 5-paragraph essay that you're typically writing, you want to narrow down the topic so that you can get into the insightful comment. Does the statement provide an outcome? That's another question that you need to reflect on. Couple more. Does the statement use all the key terms or synonyms for the key terms? You need to be including all of the key terms. Does the statement reflect cause and effect relationship? Insight comes when we talk about what responsibility means, what kind of impact it creates, or what are the ways we take on that responsibility and what outcome comes out of that. Does the statement mention any details from the literature? Rewrite the statement to omit the references to literature and create a statement that pertains to all humanity. This is really about you understanding that the discussion you are having in this essay is about our human experience, and that pertains to every single one of us. So the literature is just the means of discussing that idea. What you need to understand about writing these essays is it's all about the idea of the topic, and then you're exploring it through the literature. So here's a rubric for a thesis statement. The thesis statement limits all key terms in the assignment and provides a clear and insightful introduction into the essay topic. That would give you a 5 out of 5. If you only limit one of the 2 key terms, or it generally gives you a clear introduction, that's a 4. If the thesis statement addresses the topic, you just talk about responsibility, but doesn't limit the key terms and just states that this is the topic, you're at a 3 out of 5. If the thesis statement does not fully address the assignment and provides only a vague introduction, then you're at a 2 out of a 5. And if the thesis statement does not address the key terms in the assignment and provides an irrelevant introduction, then you're at a 1 out of 5. So here are some examples that you might see. A 5 out of 5 would be the author suggests that taking personal responsibility is achieved when one sees one's mistakes and looks to correct them so healthier relationships can be established. Note both key terms are limited and there's an outcome that is stated. Note the insight that is given about what taking responsibility can mean within our lives. Note too that no piece of literature is used. This is just a general statement about the human experience. 4 out of 5, the author suggests that taking responsibility, notice here that I haven't limited responsibility, within one's life is achieved when one sees one's mistakes and looks to correct them. No outcome is given here, and only a defining of ways by the statement one sees one's mistakes and corrects them. That's a refining of the term ways, but not of responsibility. A 3 out of 5, the author suggests that taking responsibility within one's life can be achieved. This is a very general statement. It's saying that it can be achieved. It's not insightful. It doesn't define any of the terms at all. It's just pertaining to responsibility. It hasn't really focused on the ways. A 2 out of a 5 would be the author suggests in the story that responsibility is a part of life. Note how this is stating the obvious. Definitely responsibility is a part of our life. It has nothing to do with defining ways. It does not define what that responsibility looks like at all. So this is really a 2 out of a 5. And notice a 1, making mistakes is a part of life. Here responsibility isn't even used. The potential, because it starts off with making mistakes, is that the topic will be about mistakes and not about responsibility. I hope this helps you in working through your thesis statements.